The saloon doors of Silver Creek's dusty courthouse burst open with a thunderous crash, splintering the tense silence like a shotgun blast. Amelia Hayes was hauled inside by the burly deputies, her wrists raw and bleeding from iron chains that bit into her flesh like vipers. She gasped for air, her chest heaving against the shouts of murderess that ricocheted off the wooden walls, thick with the scent of tobacco and unwashed sweat. The crowd, ranchers in weathered hats, miners with coal-blackened faces, and wide-eyed women clutching their shawls, leaned forward, hungry for spectacle in this godforsaken Montana town, where justice was as fickle as the mountain winds. Amelia stood tall in the defendant's box, her auburn hair a wild tangle framing a face smeared with dirt and defiance. Her faded denim skirt hung torn from the scuffle at her arrest, revealing a glimpse of sun-kissed skin that made some men shift uncomfortably. Accused of poisoning her late husband's rival, a man who conveniently dropped dead after a heated land dispute. She met the judge's stern gaze without flinching. Inside, though, her heart pounded like a war drum, fear mingled with fury. How had it come to this? A widow fighting for her father's legacy, now branded a killer by whispers and lies. Elias Blackwood lounged in the front row like a king on his throne, his silver hair gleaming under the lantern light, a smug curl to his lips. Flanked by his sons, he exuded the arrogance of a man who'd built an empire on stolen dreams. Samuel, the elder son, sat rigid, his eyes shadowed by doubt, fingers twisting a hat brim as if wrestling with his conscience. Victor, the younger, smirked like a wolf scenting blood, his predatory gaze lingering on Amelia's curves with a hunger that turned her stomach. They wanted her fertile valley land, rich with hidden gold veins that promised wealth beyond reckoning. Elias had eyed it since her father's death, and now, with her husband gone to an early grave from a riding accident, they saw their chance to crush her. But then, from the back of the room, Daniel Whitaker rose like a ghost from the frontier's shadowed past, a weathered gunslinger with a scarred face that told tales of battles won and lost. He declared in a gravelly voice that cut through the murmurs, "Your Honor, I'll prove this woman's innocence. She's no more a murderer than I am a saint." The crowd gasped, and Amelia's breath caught. Daniel, her father's old comrade from the Civil War, the man she'd tried so hard to ignore, with his piercing blue eyes and the forbidden pull that stirred something deep within her. Why now? Why him? Her mind raced, torn between gratitude and the spark of desire she'd long suppressed, fearing it would consume her like wildfire in dry grass. The flashback hit Amelia like a dust storm as she stood there, chains clinking softly. It had started weeks ago, under a blistering sun at her homestead. The Blackwood brothers had ridden in uninvited, dust clouds billowing behind their mounts. Victor dismounted first, his boots thudding heavily, reeking of whiskey and malice. "Time to sell, widow," he'd snarled, grabbing her arm with bruising force, his fingers digging in like claws. "This land ain't for a woman alone." Samuel hovered behind, whispering a half-hearted apology, his face flushed with shame. But he did nothing as Victor shoved her against the barn wall, his free hand tearing at her blouse, exposing the lace of her chemise. Rage boiled in Amelia's veins. She nearly reached for the hidden knife in her boot, her mind screaming for vengeance against men who saw her as prey. A rifle shot cracked the air, sharp and deadly, the bullet grazing Victor's hat and sending it flying. The brothers spun, cursing, as Daniel appeared on the ridge, his Winchester still smoking. "Touch her again, and the next one's through your skull," he growled, his voice like gravel under boots. Victor spat threats of bloody revenge before they fled, tails between their legs. Alone with Daniel by the creek later, as he tended her wounds with surprisingly gentle, callous fingers, Amelia felt a stirring she hadn't known since her husband's tender touches. "I owed your pa my life," Daniel murmured, his thumb brushing her skin, sending shivers up her arm. Gettysburg took a bayonet for him. Their eyes met, and in that moment, amidst the babbling water and sagebrush scent, desire flickered a forbidden flame in a world that demanded she remain alone, untouched. That night, under a canopy of stars, Amelia climbed into the attic of her weathered ranch house, dust motes dancing in the lantern light. Her fingers pried open a loose floorboard, revealing her father's hidden diary, its leather cracked with age. Pages yellowed and ink faded told of buried silver deposits that could make her rich, but also a dark secret. He killed Elias's brother-in-law in self-defense, after sheltering the man's abused wife in their barn. An accident, born of a drunken brawl, but buried to protect the innocent. Amelia's hands trembled. Here was the motive Elias twisted into murder. But why hide it? Her father's words whispered of trust betrayed, and her heart ached for the man she'd idolized, now revealed as flawed yet heroic. Moonlight filtered through the cracks as Samuel Blackwood slipped onto her porch like a shadow. His knock tentative. "I'm not here to harm," he whispered, stepping inside. His eyes filled with a mix of guilt and something softer unrequited love. That made Amelia's stomach twist. "Just framing you for that old death. He knows about the body, plans to dig it up and pin it on you." His confession hung heavy, laced with longing. He'd watched her from afar, admiring her strength, but now it complicated everything, pulling at her loyalties as her feelings for Daniel deepened like roots in fertile soil. Tension coiled like a rattler at the old mine the next day. Daniel and Amelia confronted a hired thug sent by Elias, his sneer promising violets. Words turned to action in a blur of quick-draw duel under the dim lantern light. Daniel's shot shattered the thug's gun hand, blood spraying across the rocky walls. The man howling as he fled. Amelia's pulse raced. Daniel's raw masculinity, his steady aim, stirred a heat in her she couldn't deny. Even as danger loomed, rumors buzzed through Silver Creek like flies on carrion. Amelia's first true peril struck when her well turned poison, her livestock foaming at the mouth. Dying in agony, she rode through a raging storm to Daniel's cabin, thunder cracking like gunfire, rain lashing her face. Soaked and shivering, she collapsed into his arms. There, by the fire, he shared his half-Shoshone heritage, confessing he was her uncle by blood-same father, different mothers, a secret born of shame. Yet their chemistry defied it, pulling them into a forbidden embrace. Lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of salt and longing, interrupted only by distant gunshots signaling more trouble. The torching of her home came in the dead of night, flames roaring like demons from hell. Amelia escaped through the secret tunnel her father had built for the Underground Railroad, clutching the diary as bullets whizzed overhead, splintering wood. Emerging into the cool air, she found Daniel waiting, his strong arms enveloping her. Under starlight, amid smoldering ruins, they shared a desperate kiss, his hands roaming her soot-streaked body, vowing to rebuild. "You're my heart now," he whispered, his touch igniting a fire that burned away her fears. If only for a moment. Sheriff Harlan Reeves, a grizzled lawman with a limp from an old Comanche skirmish, led the dig under the ancient pine. The body emerged, skeletal fingers clutching a pistol, the wound self-inflicted, while Elias twisted the crowd with lies, his voice booming accusations, sparking a near-lynch mob. Daniel dispersed them with warning shots, his commanding presence a shield for Amelia, who felt a swell of love amid the chaos. Samuel produced letters from the escaped wife, exposing Elias's neglect, but Victor attacked in a brutal fistfight, knives drawn, blood staining the dirt as brothers turned foes. Amelia watched. Heart-torn. Samuel's betrayal for her sake deepened his unrequited affection. A poignant ache. Her second danger trapped her in a collapsing mine shaft while seeking silver-proof. Rocks tumbled, just choking her lungs, screams echoing in the dark as she clawed for air. Daniel's rescue was heart-pounding. He pulled her free, their bodies pressed in relief, whispering promises of love that transcended scorn for their age gap and mixed blood. "Society be damned," he growled, his kiss fierce, pulling her closer. The trial intensified, Elias's bribed witnesses spewing lies. But Amelia's testimony of her father's slave-sheltering heroism swayed the jury, her voice steady despite inner turmoil. In a midnight raid, Victor kidnapped her, binding her in an abandoned cabin, his leering advances violent as he demanded the deed. Her struggles drew blood, nails raking his face. But Daniel's fierce chase through canyons ended in a high-noon shootout, bullets ricocheting, wounding Victor and freeing her in a haze of gunpowder. Healing at Daniel's cabin, tended by Martha, former slave with wise eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, who'd escaped via the railroad and now kept house. Amelia learned of Daniel's lost wife, mirroring her widowhood. "Pain shapes us, child," Martha said, forging deeper bonds as Amelia shared her fears of love's fragility. Samuel confronted Elias alone, disowning him in a heated argument. Elias drew his pistol, but Samuel dodged, the shot alerting the sheriff to his madness. Amelia's third peril came in a raging river flood en route to town, her horse swept away, debris battering her as she clung for life. Daniel hauled her to safety, their reunion passionate clothes soaked. Hands exploring in the mud but guilt over blood ties pulled them apart, creating aching tension.